Alright, this is my new setup. Parts, because that's what it is. I'm going to talk about the piston real fast. I'm going with a 52 mil, the high compression piston. I'm going to shave part of the top off so it's not so high, so the compression is not high. Even with the stroker crank and one of these pistons inside of it has like a little dish in the center. It has trouble starting, and the compression's around, I didn't even test the compression, but it should be about a 185, I think. And I have to jump start it every time with a jump box or a car when it's cold start, but once it's warmed up it works, which is fine. I would use this piston, a stock crank, but I want a little bit more compression, but nothing too crazy. Now they have this one with a little dish in there, but I was gonna go with something better, or I got this one that's like completely flat. But I'm just gonna go with the 52 mil, give me a little bit more cc's. It's just gonna be like 5 more cc's. So it's gonna be an 88 cc kit. I guess I'll start. I got the 150 cc vacuum fuel pump. I figured I'd go with this one because it's, I don't know, holds more fuel. Performance resistor from NCY, the blue CDI coil, or CDI. Iridium NGK spark plugs. Why? Because the other ones that are regular NGK, if you're tuning them, they will gap because they run lean. Because you have to tune it, meaning the performance is going to be off. You buy the Iridium spark plug, the gap will not get bigger. Works great. Especially when I have a hard time trying to tune it. You won't have a problem with that because the gapping won't go gapped. I have my spacer. Intake spacers, 24 mil on the outside and a 21 mil on the inside. I got the A9 performance cam. Probably can't even see that. That's alright. I'm going with the yellow torque spring. I'm not using the yellow ones on the clutch because I bought this one. Has the red ones on there. The cruising speed at like low mile an hour is like 10 miles an hour, which is fine by me. Orange performance coil. People say these don't do anything, but they actually do. My cap actually went bad on my old setup, the blue one that did 61, and I had to put the stock one back on, and the launch wasn't revving as high, and the acceleration wasn't as high. It actually dropped about 800 RPMs to 1,000 just because of this. I have a performance intake manifold, which the inside's 24 mil, so it's going to match this perfectly. Be great. The one cool thing I like about my carburetor is this is a standard carb. What's that say? 1856, 1868. My bad. It's a standard carb. The performance carb I'm using, somehow I got lucky, snagged one of these cool guys. Now that it's the same width, just has a different setup on the throttle cable, which I can disassemble this one and put it on this one. Perfectly fine, not worried about it. The widths are the same. I can use the stock air box with the new one, which is why I like it. But standard carb. Let's focus in on here. There we go. Performance carb. Should be like 23 something, 2306. Where'd you get that? I'm not telling you, so I don't want it. Got my performance drive face. I haven't used one of those before. Hopefully it works great. NCY front variator. I love that thing. It doesn't break. I've broken a few of those because the prongs on the end are skinnier and they're weaker, and I've snapped one of them somehow. Don't ask me how. Stroker crank is crap. The stroker crank setup isn't worthwhile. It's kind of aggravating. I got a temp gauge because in case it goes over a certain degree. Oil pressure gauge. You're like, where'd you get this idea from? Well, I ordered one of these oil catch cans, and it comes with one. It's right there if you can see it. These don't do anything. They hook up where your oil dipstick's at and releases pressure, and also takes oil through this little hose here and releases air out of this thing. Garbage. Doesn't do anything. You have to release the oil pressure from a different way out of the valve cover. Hint. So I took this. I was like, I think I can figure out something that would work. This oil pressure gauge screws right into the same thing where your oil dipstick is. You gotta put an O-ring on it. So I figured I can get an oil pressure sensor to work. Get the oil pressure gauge on there and see when the crankcase actually leaks at, so I can control the pressure in it, so I can test other things. I kind of don't want to say it yet because I haven't tested it yet. My RPM gauge, I got a black one. Hopefully this thing works. I ordered a couple of them, they didn't work. Kind of sad. I have a air to fuel ratio gauge, which the O2 sensor, the wideband plug, can't go in a stock exhaust. Because, you know, this exhaust is so tiny, I dislike it. This is the one that was on my blue setup. It's a little bit bigger, but not too crazy. It's like 2 mils bigger. Big whoop. Right? So, going with this one, 1.25 to 1.5 inches. Why? Because of that. That's why. Just saying. Got a cooling fan. I got a scoop from 150cc setup, so I actually have to mount this. This is actually kind of big, but hopefully it'll just cool it off just right. Be nice. Geez, I talked fast about this. The reason why I'm doing the high compression pistons is because the stock piston, the PSI is, sorry about that horn. I don't know what that is. Come on, turn your minivan off. Beep, 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 beep. Come on. You're standing there. I see you. Keys must be inside. This is not good. This is... Oh, thanks. That's even better. Yeah, anyway. This is 150 PSI when you're testing the compression in it. I haven't tested these two yet, but I want my compression to be about 165 to 170. I don't want it being too high. I don't want it being over 180, 185. I need the stock starter to still work, so that's why I'm shaving this one down. I'm not even going to test this one to see what the compression's at with the stock crank. I am just literally taking like 3 mils off the top, maybe 2, nothing too crazy, just so I can get the stock starter to work. The compression's going to be higher, which is good for top speed. It'll be great. I haven't really, I'm not going to show you my muffler, but you can see it. It's very small and I like it. It's going to look pretty sweet. I'm also wrapping it in the exhaust wrap. This golden stuff here. It's going to look nice. I like it. My other one was wrapped with it and it worked great. I think that's about it. There's not much I can talk about besides welding my exhaust back on, because I'm going to have to weld it like that. Of course it's going to be shorter, but it's basically because of the O2 sensor. I want my flow to go around the O2 sensor but still work. And if I put it into one of these pipes, I can't put the sensor in that. It's just going to block this hole and cause more problems, and it's not even going to work. It's what's the point of even doing it. So I'm going to have 3 gauges, oil pressure gauge, which that's why I have it set up like that, RPM gauge, and then the O2 sensor is going to, the wideband's going to be on this side. I'm going to like it. It's going to look cool. I can turn my gauges on and off with the switch that's on the controls on the scooter. which I like because I'm going to hook all that up to that. So at night I can just turn them on, not use power when I'm starting it. Yeah, I think that's about it. Hopefully my goal I can get at least 65 out of this. I was revving to 9200, I think, maybe close to 95 when I did 61. So that's almost 10,000 RPMs. I remember reading that the stock crank is balanced at 10,000. Everyone's having a hard time even hitting close to that. I mean, I think 50 miles an hour is about just past 7,000. 72, or I think, from what I remember. That's on a 10-inch wheel. 12-inch wheel probably be a little bit lower because of the bigger wheel in the back. I am running this setup on a 10-inch wheel again, just to go past that 61. Hopefully I hit 65. Maybe even faster. Might actually have to buy the rear gearing and the transmission to give me that extra 10%. And if I have to put a long case on it and put a 12-inch wheel on the back and run a 10-inch wheel in the front, I will. But it's only going to give me 3 to 4 miles an hour even faster. So before I even do a gearing setup on it, I want to change the crankcase and put a 12-inch wheel on it and then put the shocks up to that. Well, I think that's about it. This is my new setup. My carb's 23 mils. Intake manifold's 24. Tapered to a 21. Man, this thing's gonna rip and it's gonna sound. I can't wait to hear it on this.